I'm the guy that compares the A90, the 2019 Toyota Supra, against other cars, even though the Supra isn't out yet. In the last video, I compared the 2019 Supra, for which we actually have no hard specs yet, against the Corvette, the Mustang GT, the Camaro 1LE, and of course, the Porsche Cayman. The Cayman is the target that Tada-san, the designer of the Supra, has said that they are targeting. Hi, I'm Eric, and I realized in the last video there was one super important car that was sitting right in front of our noses. Only a couple people in the comments got it. I need to compare the Supra against that car. Here's a little hint. And we're actually going to hear what Tada-san, the designer of the Supra, says about the upcoming A90 Supra. And I found a translated interview with Tada where he goes into a lot of detail about the Supra. We're going to get into that. We're going to hear it from the horse's mouth, exactly what Toyota's intentions are, what his intentions are with this new car coming up. There's been so much talk online about the Supra, and people are really against it. There's a lot of, it's a BMW, I would never buy it. Hashtag, not my Supra. Instant fail. Well, I don't personally think it's gonna fail because guess what? In this video that I'm linking right up here, 100,000 views. That is awesome. If you want more Supra content, just hit the subscribe button. Obvious car that I neglected to compare in the last video, of course, is the BMW M2. So we're gonna put on my German hat. The BMW M2, it is not actually available with the B58 engine anymore. Yeah, it's a fact. So what BMW has done at the end of the 2019 model year, the M2 is being discontinued, and what is going to replace it is the BMW M2 Competition. Now that has the S55 engine from the BMW M3, the M4, with 405 horsepower and about the same amount of torque. The main reason to compare it, of course, is price. The BMW comes in at about $60,000. The inline-six Supra with the B58 engine is gonna come in rumored at about $60,000 as well, so they're kind of similar from that standpoint. Now, of course, these comparisons are really not that accurate because all I can really focus on is the numbers that we currently have, and it's not just about power. The Supra was not just about power. The BMW M2 is not just about power. These are cars that are designed to be well-rounded, designed to be taken on the track, if you like, handling, braking, some luxury, the whole package, and that's really the way to compare cars like this together. That said, let's look at the power to weight ratio. The BMW M2 weighs about 3,655 pounds with an automatic transmission. It does, of course, come in manual, which the Supra doesn't. Let's do some more of that tough YouTube math. So we got 3,655 pounds, we got 405 horsepower. That comes in with a power to weight ratio of 8.9 pounds per horsepower. The rumored Supra specs 335 horsepower, somewhere south of 3,400 pounds, gives it a power to weight ratio of a little bit less than 10. So if you're in the market, you've got the Supra, you've got the BMW M2 Competition. I think they are very close competitors, actually. It sort of depends just what you like. If I were in the market, and actually to be honest, I am gonna be in the market, it's a pretty tough call which one you might wanna buy. I'll let you in on a little bit of a hint though. I don't think I would buy the BMW M2 because I already have a BMW 1M and I love that car. It's an iconic, classic car, and I really don't want two cars that are basically almost identical. But let's get back to the Supra for a second. We know that the Z4, the BMW, weighs about 3,400 pounds, so I expect this is gonna come in at around 3,300, and it's got a wheelbase that is shorter than the 86 BRZ combo. The BMW M2, on the other hand, with the DCT transmission, is gonna come in at 3,655 pounds. That is potentially a difference of 350 pounds. I've called in Olaf, our technical engineer for BMW, and he's gonna explain how much that weight difference actually means. Yeah, we have done a scientific calculation of the amount of bratwurst that 355 pounds, approximately 187 kilos, would weigh, and that is less than the entirety of the Matterhorn, but it is very close. Close to, say, a fat American. So personally, I like the philosophy of Colin Chapman, the founder of Lotus, and he's got a very famous quote. It is, simplify, then add lightness. Weight is the enemy of handling, and by subtracting weight from the Supra, it just makes it a better handling car. Very much like the 86 is a fantastic handling car, in large part due to the lack of weight. Colin Chapman also has another quote with a lot of wisdom in it. He says, adding horsepower makes you faster on the straights, subtracting weight makes you faster everywhere. So here's my opinion on what's happened to the Supra and where it's going. You see, in the last 20 years or so, 20 years ago, I think the Supra was a GT car. And typically a GT car, if you look in Wikipedia at least, is a car that can go pretty quick and is good for long distance and is generally a luxury car. However, for the 2019 model, Toyota is refocusing the Supra and taking it away a little bit from its GT heritage to a much more track-focused weapon. I'm going to read you something that Tada-san, the designer of the Supra, said in a recent interview. The CEO of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, said, and Tada-san is paraphrasing here, "Oh, I just want to get back this old car into the line of previous Supras before it and finally have a new one." And he added, "I need a Nürburgring-worthy car in our lineup." And Tada-san says, "We took this seriously, and we were focused often to drive at what this was to be." So these quotes are coming from Club 4AG. It's a website run by Moto Miwa. Moto is a longtime friend of Tada-san, and he was able to interview Tada-san over the years, and also he translated a lot of this from a Japanese interview. I'm going to put a link to that website below. It is an excellent source of information, and it's probably the closest that you and I are going to get to Tada-san directly. And this is the point in the video where we're going to talk about the super spicy comments that y'all like to leave on the video. So remember, these comments, there's a lot of haters out there that think that it's gotta be a 2J, it's gotta be a 3J. All this stuff is directed at Toyota, but of course indirectly at Tada-san, the designer of the car. So hopefully he's got a pretty thick skin, because if he saw these comments, and he probably has, these are all directed at a person and not a company. So here's just a sample of the "dude, not my Supra" crowd. "Toyota, this is 2018. I'd like to see a 600 horsepower Supra inline twin turbo. They should have rolled out a new updated 2J engine pumping out over 400 horses. Should have about 400 to 500 horsepower, then release a 550 horsepower TRD special or something. Everyone will buy the 4-cylinder turbo for less money and swap a 2J." So from this translated interview with Tada-san, let me tell you what his quote is and how he thinks about the inline six. "It was really a coincidence that Toyota was the only maker still producing a straight 6 engine, and our legendary Supra was also a car laureled on our flagship inline 6 at the time. Perhaps it was a stroke of luck, or maybe divine intervention. Who knows, but it fit." Okay, so it is a fact, whether you like it or not, that BMW is having a partnership with Toyota, and the engine that's going to be in the new Supra and the Z4 is based on the B58 engine, a 3-liter inline 6 turbo. And for everyone that says the engine is not going to be reliable, I can tell you for a fact that Toyota's had their hand in the engine, and they have been allowed to tweak it probably quite a bit to make it their own. Motor Magazine from Australia claims that the twin-scroll turbo is going to be moved closer on the B58 to the manifold to improve throttle response. And let's get into the B58 engine for a couple minutes. It's a well-proven engine that's been around for a few years now. So a little bit of history. BMW has had a series of inline 6 turbo engines, of course, all being 3 liters. The early predecessor is the N54 engine, which I have in my BMW 1M. Now, there's a lot of aftermarket tuners that have put turbos on it, and they're making upwards of about 700 horsepower on that block, and it is an open deck design. I'm going to talk about that right now. The N55 engine came after the N54, and then the B58 is the current version of it. And BMW has made some significant improvements to the engine. See, the B58 engine is designed to handle a lot of power because it is a stronger block. The top of it is a closed deck design, unlike the N54, which is open. So that means that it is more rigid. It doesn't cool quite as well. That's one of the downsides, but it's able to handle more boost because the block is physically stronger. Now, the B58 has an air-to-liquid intercooler, which is built right into the intake manifold. The benefits of that are, unlike the N54 or the N55, where there's all this piping and the intercoolers in the front of the car slowing down throttle response, this is right on top of the engine. It's cooling down the air charge right there, and there's less path for the air to go through, so it improves throttle response. I'm going to put a poll up here and also answer it in the comments. Given the choice, would you rather that Toyota not have brought back the legendary Supra, or would you prefer that it be made with the inline 6 B58 BMW engine? let me know. Currently my daily driver is an Audi S3 and I love it, but I need a new daily driver and my lease is up in 2019. So that gives me an opportunity to sample a couple of different cars. The Supra is definitely a contender. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test drive the cars that I had in my last video. So the Mustang GT, for example, which I've driven, fantastic car. The 2018, the engine in it is sweet. I'm gonna also test drive the Camaro SS1LE, which is the handling package. I'm gonna check out new Corvette. If the mid-engine Corvette is out, that is definitely something that's not really on the radar right now, but that could be out by 2019. And of course, I'm gonna be testing out the Supra. So if I get the Supra, am I gonna be doing a 2J or maybe an LS swap? Well, actually, I have an LS2 engine, which I pulled out of a Pontiac GTO, and I'm dropping it into a German car. It's a Mercedes SLK, and I'm gonna be doing a series of videos on the LS in this particular style. Hope that you guys join me, and if you wanna subscribe, just hit the button. All my socials are right over here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's get to 10K. I'll see you soon.